A classy woman of power and authority, Agatha is the last kind of person you'd expect to meet within the zone. Hence why she and her employers will be the subject of this first episode of our new S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 lore and mysteries series. Major spoilers ahead, and if you're ready, let us begin. Agatha is the one making all the decisions regarding the Institute's strategic development. Indeed, while Dmytro Dalin is the director of SIRCAA and Colonel Korshunov is the commander of the ward, they both obey Agatha's orders without question, highlighting her as the true leader within the Institute's hierarchy. In fact, Agatha was behind the very creation of SIRCAA as part of her mission as a supervisor of the regulatory board and the curator of the zone project. You see, Agatha represents the mysterious regulatory board, a secret organization that had a hand in the zone's affairs way before SIRCAA was ever set up. According to our information, the board has access to almost limitless resources and funds, has ties to the government, and possesses vast influence all around the world. They were behind the secret experiments carried out in the X labs from the very beginning.
Once upon a time, the Regulatory Board launched Project X to find the source of anomalous energy that would mark a new milestone in technological advancement. As for Project X and its scientific endeavors, we simply ensured its continuity during a period when the government was unable to dedicate itself to the study of anomalous phenomena. You don't need to know the details.
What do you mean we don't need to know the details? That's why we're here. Anyway, the Regulatory Board were the benefactors of Project X, kickstarting the endeavor and continuing to support and fund it when the authorities had other things to worry about. This most likely refers to the time around the fall of the Soviet Union and the emergence of an independent Ukraine. According to former Project X scientist Valentin Dalin, the board's goal was to seize the immense power of the noosphere, the Earth's informational field, by using a whole network of generator facilities covertly built around the world. The same kind of generators found at the very center of the zone, spread around the globe thanks to the board's widespread influence in the mainland. This information is confirmed by the investigation findings of the legendary journalist, as well as by Agatha herself.
The plan remains the same. We need to get the zone's anomalous energy under control. To achieve this, we need to reach the generators and bring them online. Then we can activate the network of research centers we've set up across the mainland. These centers are equipped with more advanced generator facilities.
However, in 2006, Valentin Dalin's team went against the board's orders by conducting the unauthorized experiment during which they connected their minds to the noosphere, creating the entity known as C Consciousness and stealing control over Project X and its facilities away from the board. Of course, this event also had the side effect of birthing the anomalous zone, which the board has been trying to get under control ever since. After Strelok destroyed C Consciousness in 2012, they seized the opportunity to resume their activities in the area, and tasked Agatha to become the curator of the so-called Zone Project, the endeavor aimed at taking back control of the zone's generators, closing down the rift within the noosphere, and achieving their original goal. It was for this purpose that SIRCAA was created, as well as the ward to protect it, with both under the supervision of Agatha. Apparently, she is 40 years old at the time of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, meaning she was too young to be involved when Project X began. Henceforth, I assume her mission within the zone only began along the appearance of the Institute. Since I could not find more information about the board, let's get back to Agatha herself. She appears to be deeply entangled in the zone's secrets, emerging at pivotal moments with uncanny precision, as if she has a way of watching Skiff's every move. Indeed, every time we see Agatha, she is always in control, and seems to have some kind of special powers. During the first encounter at SIRCAA, she tests Skiff with the dilemma of revenge against Herman. Yet, all of this is a fabrication, an induced illusion generated by the projection room. It does not matter if Skiff shoots the scientist or lets him live. He was never really there in the first place, and will eventually come back if the player chooses the Warden route. But more on Herman's role later. Agatha may very well have been an illusion too, since she suddenly appeared out of thin air. This is also when Agatha showcases that she already knows everything about Skiff, his real name, his previous life, and even why he came to the zone. She also knows that Strider asked him to infiltrate the Institute. It's like she is omniscient, or at least has access to some kind of extremely advanced intelligence service. The second encounter will occur inside the Warden base at the chemical plant if Skiff sided with Darlin during the X-11 experiment. Here, Agatha reminds everyone about her authority, and manages to control the room's lighting with just a hand gesture. This is also where her affiliation with the Regulatory Board is revealed, along with their plan. If we take a look around, we'll notice a small control room adjacent to the wall where the cutscene takes place, inside which an unusual console is located. What if I told you that this device is called Agatha? Only the SIRCAA personnel with the highest access level know the purpose of this sophisticated computing module and what its poetic acronym stands for. The rest know only that this machine is to be guarded at all costs. Let's move on to the third meeting to figure out how this device is related to Agatha. After Skiff secures the foundation on the side of the wall, Korshunov will order for the control unit to be brought in, and Herman will be the one carrying the device. Then the colonel removes the unit currently placed in the socket, which belonged to C consciousness, and Herman replaces it with the Agatha unit. As soon as he does, Agatha pops up in holographic form, similarly to a visiograph, but she eventually fully materializes right before Herman restarts the Foundation's variometer.
Since Professor Herman replaced the control unit, the X network is in my hands.
It turns out the Agatha device is a control unit for the Foundation, the heart of the X network, explaining why it is so important to SIRCAA. As a man responsible for the device, Herman is the one who can tell us a bit more about it.
You know what's funny? I assembled the control unit using S.T.A.L.K.E.R's blueprints. S.T.A.L.K.E.R used to work with S.K.E.R, and S.T.A.L.K.E.R was the one who brought them to us. The irony is staggering. Darlin was supposed to locate the artifact, the lock that sealed the zone. I was to assemble the control unit, the key to its heart. Your job is to open the door. And then, she'll go through it.
Okay, so the original control unit was designed by Kalancha, one of the top scientists from Project X, who did end up in Clear Sky, and that's how he once worked with S.K.E.R. As for S.T.A.L.K.E.R, he must have found the blueprints during his trip to the center of the zone, and gave them to the authorities when he came back. His findings were one of the reasons for the creation of SIRCAA after all, and he did work at the Institute as a scientific consultant for a few years.
They do whatever Agatha says. This time she needed loyal soldiers, but I saw her true colors back at SIRCAA.
Anyway, Herman was chosen to build Agatha's control unit, with which she can take control of the X network, bringing the Regulatory Board one step closer to their goal. Herman mentioned that Agatha will then go through the door that Skiff will open, an event we see in the control ending. Skiff led the way for Korshunov to claim the vacant pod at the generators, becoming a mediator between the Noosphere and Agatha.
You don't need 8 people to interface with the noosphere anymore. I alone am sufficient, along with the mediator in the pod, who will serve as an intermediary between the zone and the noosphere.
We could imagine that Agatha would need to be connected to some kind of special device to interact with the noosphere through Korshunov, but that's not the case, or at least not directly. Indeed, in the 4th and final encounter with her, she is roaming around as if nothing special is happening, and we know she's not an illusion since she gave Skiff his gift box, which appears very much real. However, we need to remember that her Agatha control unit is still active, meaning she's always connected to the X network. I believe this is the key to be able to use the mediator, and that's how she could control the generators while not strapped to any kind of machine. Alright, there's one last detail we need to discuss. Agatha's cigarettes.
Your cigarette leaves no smell. None whatsoever.
And yet the flavor is exquisite, Yevhen. Have you forgotten it since our encounter at SIRCAA? Regrettably, I can't offer you a smoke at the moment.
Skiff could feel the flavor of the cigarette back at SIRCAA despite the illusions from the projection room, but now at the Foundation she cannot share a smoke anymore. Perhaps it is because she is not even there in the first place, as she is just an hologram. Is Agatha even human? Could she be some kind of super program created by the Agatha control unit? It seems we're not the only ones wondering about that.
What is Agatha?
What difference does it make now? She's bigger than any of us. Maybe even bigger than the people we're working for.
Fine, Herman, keep your secrets. If you won't tell us more, I'll get more information from your colleagues, and more precisely the SIRCAA archives found on the ATB collectible cards. Sadly, Dmytro Dalin did not have enough clearance to access Agatha's file, which speaks volumes about how well protected her personal information is. However, we did learn that some SIRCAA employees also wonder about her true nature and question whether she is human or not. According to one scientist, Agatha possesses outstanding analytical and computative skills that I think could be tied to her control unit. The scientist also suspected Agatha to be much more than a supervisor from the regulatory board, just like Herman did. Thus we got the hint that Agatha might not just be an employee of the board, but actually a top-ranking member of the organization, perhaps even someone above them. It seems many mysteries will remain about Agatha and the board for the time being, but I get the feeling this is not the last time we will hear about them. What do you think about Agatha? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you learned something new. And until next time, good hunting, stalkers.